What do we need to know about the energies for the week of November 3rd through the 9th? Welcome to Trevor's Tarot Astrology and Spirituality. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for liking, watching, commenting on the videos, sharing the videos, promoting the channel on your own social media platforms, which I know many of you are doing, and watching the videos all the way to the end. This is what really helps the channel grow, so thank you, thank you, thank you. It feels like there's big shifts happening the week of the 3rd through the 9th on a geopolitical front. Like some power struggles. I talked about this a few months ago that there would be like this big kind of global shift, and I think we're seeing it. I think the United States, for example, is weaker. Israel's weaker. Um, and like not the country, the world is more isolated than it has been. Even though we still live in a globalized, trading world, but each country is kind of making sure they're taking care of their business first. Um, with the exception of the US and Israel, and that's why they're isolated. Um, and there's probably some other exceptions there too. But it feels like there's a lot of power struggles going on this week on the geopolitical front. So big global shifts. On the more individual level, we do have Mercury going retrograde on the 9th, which is Sunday of this week. And so I think, a lot of the communication stuff that we talk about with Mercury going retrograde is going to start this week. I definitely think, it's important that you're checking your bank statements, your credit card statements, all of those things. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Seven of Swords pop out when we do the tarot. I could see it in the scramble now. And it's not that there's necessarily something malevolent happening. It's just like, computer glitches and, things somehow being processed wrong. Maybe they're off by a decimal place. It's so just be aware that you should definitely watch that. Like when you go out to eat, make sure your bill is right. Sure they're not charging you for an extra drink that you didn't have or something. It just feels, and I don't think it's intentional. I just think these things are going to happen. Okay, so there's that. Yeah, the wrong price scanning at the checkout, and this may have already started as well. I think, there's some sticker shock too when it comes to shopping this week as well. So, particularly paying close attention to that, I think is important. It's also a week of tying up loose ends, like finishing projects. They say you shouldn't start a new project during a Mercury retrogrades. I've never found this to be particularly true for me. However, if you found it true for you, then by all means follow your intuition there. I do feel like there's a lot of misunderstandings this week, and they've probably already been happening. Um, just there's a lot of people that are not sleeping well because they're worried about finances, particularly in the US. Um, you know, Grocery prices, especially people that are furloughed and working but not getting paid, if they're federal workers in that situation, these things are starting to get really concerning. So people's temperaments are a little edgy this week, particularly in the United States, but everywhere. So just be aware, it's not a good week to honk your horn, for example, if the light turns green and the person in front of you hasn't started right away, you know, they'll eventually go. They'll see that it's green. You don't need to honk your horn. Because if you honk your horn, it's like they're gonna just go slower to make you mad. It's like there's retaliation and retribution, if that makes sense. It's like this weird sort of energy of, well, who do you think you are? And I'll show you. And um, but everybody kind of has that. And it's really because of, getting ready for Mercury to shift to its retrograde. And then also the moon cycle, we have the full moon midweek on Wednesday, the 5th. And so we're like crescendoing up to Wednesday, and then it's like a letdown. So we're gonna have this kind of like anxiousy type energy, and then it's like the day after Christmas type of energy. So lots of mood swings. Eh, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting week. I don't think it's gonna be a bad week. I think it's a good week. It's a great time to manifest up until Wednesday. I'm not saying you can't after Wednesday, but definitely up to Wednesday is a really good time to manifest. I keep seeing stocks in the water. I don't know why that is. Uh, That's you. I don't know if you're going through your stock drawer and getting rid of stocks. Somebody's doing that, something like that. Um, it's it is a good time to manifest, especially Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Um, so take advantage of that. Uh, I think it's the week's gonna be okay. It's not gonna be one of these like really horrible weeks. It's just going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of misunderstandings. It could be particularly bad if you let it, but I don't think you need to let it. So let's throw a few oracle cards from the Law of Attraction Oracle deck. What do I need to know? What's energies that are available for us here this week? Yeah, so interesting. We get travel. Embarking on a journey could be your path to wealth as abundance and opportunities await you in the world. Really good time to manifest around money. It will be for a while. It's not like it's over if you don't do it now. Um, so if you are traveling, this week or you're planning traveling, for the holidays and you're just, booking tickets and stuff, you know, there's probably going to be some delays, not just because there's not enough TSA workers in the US, but it feels like there's like just little glitches that just cause things to like be delayed. So make sure you take, an iPad or your phone or whatever, some sort of entertainment. Competition. Remember that there is no competition if you are truly original. It's an interesting one. Um, again, this is valuing our self-worth in our individuality, the things that make us unique. You know, putting that purple strip in your hair, which somebody's doing, things like that, like just bring joy. Uh, I think are important in this kind of time frame. So, you know, understanding our uniqueness is not super easy. It really isn't. But we all have inherent unique qualities. Some of us are quirky to a fault. Some of us are able to pinpoint emotions on a dime and understand problems quickly. And you know, there's a lot of like our past that leads to this uniqueness. Nobody has our past. That is the one thing that truly makes us unique. So our set of experiences are always unique. So, one more focus. It's difficult to be productive when your energy is scattered in so many directions. Yeah, that's pretty much for the week. If you can focus, you're going to be doing great. Wouldn't be surprised if it's really hard. It does feel kind of scattered. Um, just a lot of little glitches along the way, like, saying the wrong name, you know, with people that you've known for years, or referring to your oldest child by the middle child's name, or the middle child by the oldest child's name. Um, these are the type of things I'm talking about that are just gonna happen. Um, and a lot of weird phone calls this week for somebody. Don't know who that is, but it's like a spam call almost every hour. And it's the same number, and nobody's on the other side if you do answer it, so don't answer it. It's nothing. It's a spam call. Um, that's happening for a few people. Expect those type of things, so make sure if you're in an important meeting or whatever, to put your phone on silent because it will ring, even if everybody knows not to call you. Um, okay, so let's throw some cards from the tarot and see what we get here. What do we need to know about this week? November 3rd through the 9th. Uh, yeah, I'd be really surprised if we don't see the Seven of Swords. Still seeing that. Um, the Seven of Swords is about deceit and deception, but it doesn't have to be intentional, right? It very much can just be mistakes. Like, for example, my family likes okra, and I did a pickup order for okra. And I put that I wanted 2 pounds, or so I thought, of okra to cook. And I got two little okras. I don't know what you do with just two okras, but um, it's kind of these weird things that are going to be happening. And they've already started. I mean, they started last week. Like we talked about, there was communication issues last week as well. What do we need to know? Yeah, it's a weird grocery week. I'm just gonna tell you, make sure that you check your produce. That bag of potatoes have potatoes that are all rotten. Um, it just feels like one of those things where, you buy some fresh fruit and it turns out it has no taste. Um, yeah, lots of things going through the air, lots of messages, and lots of miswiring and miscommunications. Make sure you're, you know, not hitting reply all on some emails. This is going to happen. Accidentally adding somebody to a phone call that you didn't mean to, and now there's three of you on there and you're talking about the other person. These are the type of things that can really happen if we're not careful. So, um, with the Two of Cups. So, the good thing is that the home life is going to be quite good this week. It might just be that we choose to stay home because things are pretty calm there. Um, I think, if you're in a relationship, it's gonna be a good, healthy week for that. And if you're single and wanting to get into a relationship, there's a possibility for that, but be careful because of all the crazy Mercury retrograde stuff. I'm not saying don't do it, Uh, but just be a little bit careful that people are really who they say they are if you don't know them. The King of Swords, we're going to need all our logic, all our discernment this week to make it through unscathed. And most of us aren't. I mean, nothing bad's going to happen. There's just going to be, these little hiccups, these little embarrassing moments, these, typos at the wrong inconvenient time. Um, you know, forgetting appointments, forgetting to go pick up a prescription. These are the type of things that I'm talking about. Get the world card. Um, you know, at the end of the week, Mercury does go retrograde, so we'll end the not retrograde period, I guess. But also it feels like the whole world is going through this, so just know you're not alone, I guess. Maybe it might be a little bit useful talking with, really close friends. Be very careful about the written word if you're going to use sarcasm. I think we talked about that last week, or maybe that was for the whole month. Sarcasm isn't going to go over well this month in general and or this week. So unless you know the person really well and you're always sarcastic with each other, just be careful. Sarcasm can be taken completely out of context. It does very much feel like we're standing on the wheel of fortune. Yeah, it's taking our total core strength to keep us um, upright, so to speak. I guess really what I mean by that is that if we're not fully engaged, we're gonna miss something big. And I'm not talking about the news. I'm just talking about in our personal and work lives, particularly our work lives. Or if we're retired or volunteer work or whatever we is important to us if you're retired. It just feels like we could miss something really important if we're not engaged. And our brain is going to be scattered, right? That focus card was there for a reason. If we can focus, it's going to be a much easier week, but that is not an easy thing to do. There will be some anxiety for quite a few people, especially around the full moon on Wednesday for some reason. A little bit on Tuesday leading up to it as well. It does feel like it could be a little bit overwhelming. I see somebody, you know, crying in their car, but it's like it's a healthy cry, so that's good. But it's like a cry of like, like why are things so hard? Like things just feel hard. Not every day of the week this week, but just certain days for certain people, depending upon some placements probably in your chart. Um, there's just a lot of confusion and double check those receipts. These types of mistakes can make you feel like you're crazy and make you feel like you're dumb, for the lack of a better word. None of that's true, but that's what it'll make you feel like. So if we can avoid them, I think that would be for the best. Do realize that, we'll get through these crazy little moments because that's all they are. They're not gonna last all day, and they're gonna be, 5-minute things. If we're not careful, there's possibilities, that the little mistakes can have repercussions for a day or two, but it's nothing really bad is going to happen on an individual level. Geopolitically, yeah, there's some craziness, and that's part of the reason why we're scattered is because we're thinking about those types of things. Um, we are very worried about money. We just are. Even if we have it, we're worried about it. It doesn't matter how much you have. What's the expression? More money, more problems. Um, we're just worried about money. You know, it might not make any sense at all to worry about it for you. You're still worried about it. Um, for some of us, it definitely makes sense to worry about it. Healthcare, groceries in the United States in particular, and healthcare in the United States in particular are very worrying topics. There's, somebody's going to find out that their doctor is leaving. Um, it'll be okay. Yeah, or you're going to find out, somebody's going to find out that the place they normally go isn't going to accept their insurance next year. It's these things that just are really concerning. So just know that they're there and that they'll work their way out. And speaking about being discerning, here's the Queen of Wands. That's really the key to the week is being cautious. Not cautious to the point of paralysis, but just cautious, especially when it comes to communication, any sort of transaction, whether it's buying something, selling something, um, putting money in the bank, taking money out of the bank, paying a credit card, using a credit card, any sort of transaction, be very cautious. I don't think anything really bad's going to happen, and I think everything will get fixed. Like, I don't think anything's like not repairable. I don't see anything like that. It's just more like if we can avoid these little mistakes, we'll be okay. It's like, getting double charged for your Netflix subscription. These are the things that are going to happen. And you're wondering, like, how's that happen? Because, had this forever and now all of a sudden they charge me twice. Well, these are the things that are going to happen. So, if we can be discerning and we can be cautious and we can catch these things right away, it's just going to make our lives easier. So, it's an interesting week. That's for sure. Yeah, we get the mis and disinformation, miscommunication, the devil underneath, and then we get greed, the King of Pentacles, and just money issues. And then we have the Tower card. Uh, Things getting shook up. What's getting shaken up is our financial stability. And this is kind of like that feeling that we're gonna have is like pleading to the heavens of just like, why is this going on with the judgment card? Or pleading to the heavens with hope, just hoping things will be fine. And the truth is they will. They will. It's just a weird week. So the full card. Um, all in all, I think, you know, the more careful we can be as we go through this week, the better. Um, I'm not saying don't send emails. I'm not saying don't send text messages. I'm just saying double check and maybe make sure it's addressed to the right person. Make sure you're texting the right person. These are the things, texting the wrong person. These are the things that can happen. Um, yeah, let's throw some cards from the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck. Okay. What else do we need to know this week? It is a good week to manifest. Um, to be very clear about what you're manifesting. You know, you don't want to just manifest a relationship or like a romantic relationship. You want to manifest a healthy romantic relationship. These adjectives are important. Okay, this week. Do we need to know this week? I think we're supposed to look at all of those. We get the shapeshifter, transform and unveil your gifts. This is about that uniqueness. Your uniqueness is how you're going to succeed in some sense. Um, Whether it's on personal relationships or professional relationships or making money. The Earth Mother, feel love and comforted. Yeah, I think don't sweat the small stuff. If some of these things I'm talking about happen, they happen. Everybody texts the wrong person from time to time. Everybody hits reply all once in a while on an email that they shouldn't have. The Knight, be brave and honest. I think if you're one of these people making the mistakes, just own it. I think it'll be easier that way. And the Moon, take note of intuitive messages. I think this is really one really important. Listen. especially to your dreams this week. They might be quite vivid. If you're not used to having vivid dreams, like just be okay with it. But there are messages in the dreams this week, especially regarding health. So be paying attention there. The air guardian, shift your perception. Um, yeah, I think this idea of you're behind the car in front of you and the light's red, and then the light turns green. We don't have to be that impatient person that honks. We don't know what's going on with them, right? Maybe they're having a really horrible day. They're eventually gonna go. They'll realize it's green. And honking feels like it just turns out to like backfire. So I don't know why that is. And if that's you and you honk, let me know when it backfires. Um, so yeah, I think all in all, just be careful this week. Like just be cautious, really methodical with things. Uh, yeah, especially financial stuff, purchases, bank transactions, getting paid, paying, so on and so forth. So, all right, I'll be back with another video soon.